Hi everyone, in today's lesson we're going to talk about solving systems of equations using inverses. So if we look at this first example right here, you already know how to solve this. Most of you would use elimination by multiplying this top equation by -2 and then we can solve for the x and y values. But there's actually a way that we can use matrices to help us solve these systems. So if A is an invertible matrix, the system of linear equations represented by A x equals b has a unique solution given by x is equal to A inverse times b. Now, I can explain this definition a little bit more in class tomorrow when I see you, but let me first just go through how I would solve this system. So the first step would be begin by writing the system as A times x equals b. So we're going to assume that this is matrix A. And we're going to write just the coefficients of matrix A. So we have x, 2, -2, -3. And I'm sorry, this x obviously needs to be a 1. We're writing just the coefficients. So 1, 2, -2, -3. And we are going to multiply that by x and y. I know we just have as x, but this x is just the variables, and I want to equal that to the constants, 5 and 10. Okay, so this here is A, this is your x, and this is your b. So the A is represented by just the coefficients of the items before the equal sign. The x is the variable matrix with x and y, and the 5 and the 10 are here. Now basically what I did was I just separated this so that it was two different matrices. So don't you agree if I were to multiply these together, it would be 1 times x, which is x, and then -2 times y is -2y. Right? That's how we would multiply them, and then they would equal 5 and 10. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the formula, since this is a 2 by 2 matrix, to find A inverse. So if this is A, I want to find the inverse. So remember the formula for the inverse is 1 over AD minus BC times DA -C -B. Okay? So if this is the matrix A, and this is your A, B, C, D. Whoops, excuse me, that's incorrect. This is your A, B, C, D. So when we multiply A and D, we're going to multiply these two. So it's just 1 over -3 minus 2 times -2, C times B, is -4. So we have 1 over 1. -3 plus 4 is 1. And then we are going to write our inverse matrix next to it. So we're going to switch the A and the D. So D and A are switched. So it's -3 and 1. And then we're just going to negate the C and the B, -C and -B. So this becomes a -2 and a 2. So this is my A inverse. So if I multiply A1 by B, I will get my solution. So A1, or inverse, A to the -1, is -3, -2, 2 and 1. And if I multiply this by B, which the B here is 5, 10, we will get our solution. So I'm going to multiply -3 times 5, that's -15, plus 2 times 10 is 20. So this times this, and now we're going to do this times this. So negative 2 times 5 is a negative 10. And then 1 times 10 is 10. So we add those together and we get 5 and 0. So these are my solutions. So x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 0. We just solved that system. Okay, now I'd like you to try the second example by yourself, following the same steps as I did here. So start by writing it as a times x equals b, using the formula to find the inverse, and then multiplying it to get my solutions. Alright, let's move on to a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, so this is the same concept as before. We're going to write matrix A as the coefficients 2, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, times x, which we'll call x, y, z, equals negative 1, 1, and negative 2. So again, this is your matrix A, this is your x, and that's your b. So we're going to use the calculator now to find the inverse of A1, and we're going to write that below. So the inverse of A. So typing this into the calculator, find your inverse and hit resume when you're finished for the answer. Okay, this is the inverse that I got. I got negative 1, 1, and 0, negative 1, 0, and 1, 6, negative 2, and negative 3. So that is my inverse for A. So now if we multiply A times B, we'll get our solution. So A1, we're just going to write and my B is negative 1, 1, and negative 2. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this by hand. You can actually use the calculator if you want. If you enter this into the calculator as matrix A, which is a 3 by 3, and then you insert this as matrix B, which you'll call a 3 by 1, you can actually just do matrix multiplication in the calculator to get the answer. See if you can figure it out in there, and then hit resume for the answer. If you can't, do it by hand, so do this whole thing by hand, and then hit resume for the answer. Okay, you should have gotten that x is equal, or that negative 2, negative 1, negative 2. So that means x is 2, y is negative 1, and z is negative 2. Those are your three answers for x, y, and z. Okay, why don't you see if you can do problem number 4 on your own. Okay, so problem number 4 is homework, and problem number 2 as well. So number 4 and number 2. And we'll start there by going over those tomorrow. All right, have a good night.